And we're live. What's up, Phil?
Nothing much. Back at it.
Yeah, it's
How you been?
been busy week. We've both been running kind of in all types of different
Running
directions.
around.
Yeah. Never hadn't been able to get down and talk in one of these for well, I guess since what last Friday, last Thursday or
Yeah.
Friday.
Good week
Uh,
almost.
yeah, so it's been quite some time. Actually, did we get one out early? No, we didn't get one out earlier this week.
No,
So yeah, it has been.
we didn't have an official call on the election. Well, semi-official. We didn't have the
No, we
media
did.
call like anyone. I don't know if we did. Did
We
we?
did. Yeah, that
We
was
did?
2 Saturdays ago. We've been on a couple times since then, but still been a lot that's happened. Market's been going off. Elon Musk is sending people to space. Um,
Wild.
more stuff coming out about the election. People are leaving New York in droves. Um, possible lockdowns coming back into effect. Bitcoin is soaring, as I'm sure you're pumped
Absolutely
about,
soaring.
stoked about that. Uh, 401k and IRA millionaires are both at all-time highs, so tons to talk about there. Uh, Fed pick, McConnell and Trump's Fed pick, who's big on the gold standard.
Judy
She got
Shelton.
denied. Yeah, Judy Shelton. She was denied from the Fed. So we'll probably touch on that. But what do you want to jump into first here? You want to start with Elon Musk and Tesla
Yeah.
going to the S&P 500?
Yeah. So how about that? Did you think like 4 years ago at Tesla would be in the S&P 500 right now? Like I absolutely did not. One, two, I cannot believe they are up there with the names of Ford, GE, it's not GE, sorry, GM. These giant car companies.
Yeah,
Tesla doesn't produce cars; they produce software. They're a
company.
software
Yeah,
company.
yeah, and that's the same exact lines that I fall under. I was just gonna kind of I guess rebut you and say that I don't. I mean, many people do. A lot of people do. People are kind of the I don't know, mainstream, watching Squawk on the Street every day. They think of them in the sense of a car company, but realistically, they are a technology company, and they need to be thought about in that sense. So when you talk about it like that, 4 years ago, did I think they would be in the S&P 500? Maybe not necessarily certain, but there was definitely a possibility because we've seen the growth that tech companies can have versus the growth that a car company can have, and they're, like you said, they're slinging tech. They're not slinging cars.
Yeah, but how about the fact that Elon Musk has been saying he's going to come out with the autonomous software now for like 2.5 years. Speaking of tech, and it still hasn't come out yet. He's been saying it's coming,
Doesn't
but
matter.
why not?
He's a hype salesman. I'm sorry. You know I don't mean it doesn't actually matter, but
Yeah,
I'm saying in terms of, especially because of the popularity with I mean, mainstream traders who, although they don't really have the capital to get behind it too much, um, it's in everybody's mouth. Tesla's in everybody's mouth, and that's because
100%.
he's just great at selling hype. He's just an absolute genius with it.
100%. And I think he plays the internet game. 100%. Me and
Without
you
a
were speaking
doubt.
about
Yeah,
this a little bit. He loves
yeah,
being
yeah.
he loves being in the front of everyone's eyes. He loves being a meme. He he loves just being the center of
Yeah.
attention. How
I
about
mean, we were
when he
talking
said,
what three examples that we were talking about just the other day. We were talking about when the rock went through the window, or the sledgehammer, whatever it was there. And now there's no doubt in either of our minds that he was like, let's
on
let this
purpose?
let's let this go through the window because we're going to get way more views, which is completely true and so smart. Uh, the other one was the price in the car at 69,420.
Yeah. Hmm.
You're gonna get views from that. And then what did he do? He had 69 on the rocket, on the space, the
Yeah,
astronauts'
the
backs.
two astronauts that were getting in the rocket first. Each one had a 6, the other one had a 9 on his back jacket. He's a clown. He's a clown, but it's
It's
great.
good. No,
I think ever
it's yeah.
since I honestly think ever since damn, I totally lost my train of thought when you were saying uh, but he loves being a meme. Ever since sorry, I remember now when he was
There
on
we
Joe
go.
Rogan and he
Yeah.
was smoking the weed, that hit in his mind. He was like, all right, like here we go. Then he started getting electric with the tweets. Remember
Well,
what he
he's been
said? I'm
like
taking
that
Tesla
forever. But
private
yeah,
at
yeah,
420.
yeah. He's
He's a clown.
yeah, he's I think we stated this the other day. He's a Trump-like figure, and he just understands how to electrify one crowd, and the crowd that doesn't like
Hmm.
him, how to kind of electrify him in the opposite way. But either way, Uh, no publicity is bad publicity, especially for a guy like that, because he can back it up too. He's putting his money where his mouth is in a lot of things. I mean, he's one of the best creators in of our generation, if not of all time. So
Definitely, he was huge in PayPal, and
yeah,
he was huge in so many
everything.
things before
Yeah,
Tesla that
and
people. I mean, a lot of people know his story now, but beforehand, people probably didn't realize how well. Some people definitely don't realize how much of an impact he has
he's
on their
now
everyday lives.
he's now number three in the world, number three richest man in the world.
So obviously, he created some value. That's the only way to get there, is to create a ton of value.
Tons of value, but I'm looking up right now how much he made this year, because it's got to be an incredible amount.
While you're on that, with him being a meme stock and everything, part of the crazy things is the gamma squeeze is all these people calls that the broker dealers have to go long on the stock to hedge the calls in case the calls hit. But so all these meme stocks apparently are all getting these gamma squeezes because all these Wall Street bettors are the word of mouth so quick around the internet. It's almost like a giant pump and dump, except it's not. Obviously, clearly it's not. I mean, in the case of Tesla, but there's other stocks that they become these fire meme stocks. They have funny memes that all these people see. And also leading into that, these are the people that are up 300% on the year.
Yeah.
They were all sitting there going, buy the dip, buy the dip. How many memes did you see across the whole sphere of the internet? Buy the dip, buy the dip. Whether it was Instagram, Wall Street, Twitter.
No, and
all these fund managers ran. Every fund manager ran for the mountains, and all these people got in the trenches, and now look at them up 300%, while Ray Dalio and Simmons are down.
I was just saying, you talk about guys, the big guys are down, but it's kind of coming to the funnel in which Wall Street's become so mainstream, and just over time becomes more mainstream, and as everyday people are just that much more into it than they were 20 years ago, 30 years, increasingly. Word of mouth, just like the word of mouth increases the purchase of anything. I think of like silly bands when we were in like middle school or whatever it is. It's like they came out of nowhere, but the word of mouth spreads, and those things are selling like hotcakes. Same thing's true for the market. Definitely. It doesn't even have to be a good company, but if the word of mouth is going around to a bunch of people who in general have absolutely no idea what they're doing in the financial markets, so they get that one name that's clicking, and they see it pop off green a couple days, well, they're hopping on the bandwagon, and you better bet everybody else is hopping on the bandwagon too, and especially everybody who doesn't really know what the hell they're doing. And just by the luck of everybody hopping in at once, they pump themselves up and end up making money. And that's kind of how the craziness of 2020 has seeped into even personal brokerage accounts.
It's been a giant money printer.
Yeah,
it's been a giant money printer for everyone. Yeah. When I was on that note, I think this has been going on for a while. Personally, when I was at a brokerage, from my history, I don't know if the people of the podcast know yet. There would definitely be some moron running around going, I like this today. And then like four other dudes would hop on with him and start him hard on one stock just because they liked it today. It was the stock of the day or the stock of the week. It wasn't. Yeah. So word of mouth definitely. And I think that's the way it used to be. It would be at brokerage floor, and they would pump that shit up and it would go crashing down. But now that's
the thing.
Internet.
It used to be you could be
without even meaning to do it.
Well, because it was strictly, I'm sure some people within the street before. Well, definitely, but because it was strictly within the street before, the word of mouth was only spreading to that small group. If you were on the street, it was like, am I first to the news on the street? And if I'm not first to the news on the street in that day, if I'm getting on late in the day, then I'm screwed. But because the word of the mouth is trickling through the internet and to a mass of people now at different levels, they're buying throughout a couple day periods because it's trickling for a couple days or a couple weeks rather than hours in a full day. And in that, you can kind of get lucky and catch the pump. You have more leeway. You're not going to be as late as you would be in the old sense, because it was you're got to get that information within a day max, hours really, or you're too late. Now it's maybe a week or so because the trickle down is going so far.
Look at space. It went from freaking 10 to 40 in
For months.
3 months.
It was pumping
Three
for
months of
yeah.
steady just pumping, and then just dropped. And now it's somewhere, I think, in like the 17, 18 range,
Yeah, the
something like
last couple of
that.
days,
So,
that's got
there's a
had
lot
some.
of bag holders.
Now, what do you think?
There's a lot
Because
of bag
and
holders who
we're
probably
not
bought at
talking
38,
single
40.
securities, but because we both know this company and both been on them for a while, what have you seen there? Because Richard Branson had to delay sending people to space because of new lockdowns and new restrictions. Uh, what do you think on that? You think they're
Honestly,
gonna take a fat hit?
I wouldn't even go near space
You're gonna
personally.
stay
Just
away
think
from it. We'll stay
it's
away
just
from.
such an untried. It's just such an untried area. Think about it. It's
Oh, I know.
freaking space tourism. It's
Yep.
pretty wild. I mean, trust me, I would love to drop 250 grand and take a little
Yeah.
ride up into space, but
Yeah.
I'm sure
What
there's
about
truth
when
too. Honestly, I think there's a market. I
when
think there's a
Steve Jobs
market,
said
but who's
Jobs
gonna?
said everything in your life's gonna be on this little this little
Yeah,
piece of
yeah.
glass. What people probably thought the same thing, but space
No,
tourism is a
I think
little
there's
bit more of
definitely
a
a market.
specialized
Like,
sect than yeah.
but look at the new gaming consoles that came out. There was
Mhm.
already people that had their Xboxes and PlayStations lighting on fire or not working. Do you want to be the first one to go up in a rocket?
Without a doubt. Yeah, I agree. Same
I
thing
do
with the
not want to be
vaccine
within
we
the
talk
first
about.
year and a half.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same thing.
definitely,
The vaccine's
definitely,
the same thing. Yeah,
for
it's actually
sure.
good. I get my haircut just not long ago today and earlier today, and we were talking about that. And I think everybody, everybody's in there is, very rational guys. Love having conversations with all the guys. But everybody was on the same boat in that. Yeah, we'll get the vaccine probably at some point. We're not necessarily completely against it, but I'm not going to be the first one in line. That's for sure.
I don't know who would want to be the first one in line personally. You're honestly
That,
taking
and
a large risk in my
that's another way or area we got to is who are these people doing these trials? The people that are the ones that are healthy that are doing the tests and stuff like that. Like you're out of your mind if you wouldn't catch me.
Well, think about it. It's all incentives. So
Right.
I was reading an article actually that said, because they were saying, what if people don't want to go get it? And then what if how much,
Force
let me
people to
word it to
get
you
it.
this way. No. Let me word it to you this way. How much would I need to pay you to go get the vaccine? Let's say within the first month, how much would I need to pay you?
I don't know. That's tough to put a value on it.
There's a number to everything though. There is.
No, there is. I'm thinking about how much it would cost me over maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Should I get it because I took the vaccine and it ends up causing me to get it?
Cause you to get sick. Okay, what if?
So what do you think? I mean, 10 grand?
I mean,
Is
I
that
don't. No,
the
no.
three
Oh
week
no,
cost to be?
I don't think they're gonna be giving anyone 10 grand to go get the vaccine. I think they'll be giving people $200 on their taxes,
You're
tax
out of your
refunds.
mind. Yeah, tax me. I'll pay the tax.
I think that's what. No, I think people are gonna. Yeah, I think people are just gonna get refunds on their taxes for going to get it. And I believe personally, I think there's gonna be like, if you get it in the first month, you get a month. Let's say, I don't know. I'm just putting a number out there. So you get it within 2 months. With after the first month ends, within the next month, you get 750, and then it'll eventually to the point where you won't get money for getting it. Because I'm telling you, I'm sure there's a lot of people who would go stick that in their arm for $250 right now.
Yeah, you're not me, not you.
Trust me, I'm not one of them.
Cast. You're a brave individual. I'll tell you that much. All right, where do you want to turn to next? You want to go lockdowns? You want to go a little bit on the Biden cancer research?
Let's talk a little bit about these. You see, they just closed all
New York
New
City
York City
schools.
public schools.
New York City public
But
schools are closed, but
the
you know
thing
what
I
that
don't
means.
get about that. What does that mean?
That means that businesses have to close. You can't have kids home without the parents home.
No doubt. The daycare is closed. The daycare is closed.
Yeah.
I kind of had a feeling that's where you were going, but I didn't know
Yeah.
that was where you were going.
Yeah, is that where
Daycare is closed? 100%.
Yeah. Daycare is closed. School is closed.
100%.
That means businesses are closed, and people go back to
I'm a
living
little
at home.
confused.
They're working at home.
And they were saying, even de Blasio was saying, he said it himself. He said, the rate of transmission in our schools are well below 3%. The city itself just got above a 3% transmission rate. Meanwhile, you got places in Jersey, 8%. You got places in Connecticut, 9%. Like, so why are we locking down?
Yeah, and I mean,
But
you got Cuomo and de Blasio on complete opposite pages. I mean, just
yeah,
Cuomo, and it's gotten to the level now where it's just not even. I'm just beside myself with the things that he says on a daily. And I'm not talking about de Blasio. I'm talking about Cuomo just on a daily basis. I mean, so we talked a little bit about the sheriff's office, upstate Saratoga County Sheriff's, the Saratoga County Sheriff Mike Zullo is his name, or Zerlo. He said that he wasn't going to enforce Thanksgiving Day mandates or restrictions or anything like that on 10 people in your house, different things like that. And a couple other sheriffs said it across the state, and he came out and said something to the effect of, if you don't enforce the laws, don't call yourself a law enforcement officer or something like that. And it's just like, what is going through your mind? Who are you to say anything of that nature to the law enforcement across the state? You think it's really in their best interest and also in the people's best interest for them to come knocking on your door, counting your cars in your driveway in a private residence is
let me
just
ask you.
it's out of this world.
Do you honestly believe they're going to do that? You honestly believe that's going to happen?
Who? What?
No, I'm asking you. Do you believe that the police are going to come around in places and start counting?
No, I knew from the day that it was said.
Whether the sheriff, whether the sheriff came out and said it or not.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I'm saying before the sheriff said that,
yeah.
I had no thought that they would ever come around and do such things. The fact that he's even got
when did Cuomo say that? And when did Cuomo say that they're going to have this happening?
Probably a week ago now, close to it.
I remember the Thanksgiving mandates, but when did he say there are going to be people coming hours?
A little bit after the.
I'm sorry, I don't remember hearing anything of that nature saying that there's going to be a cop coming and knocking on my door because they counted 5-6 cars at my house.
There was something, I don't remember the exact quote, but I did read it, that it was a quote from Cuomo where he didn't necessarily say they're coming and knocking on your doors, but he did say that he'll be mandating that law enforcement doesn't enforce it, which I don't know how he planned on telling them to go about enforcing it, or anything of that nature. But I'm totally in agreement with you. I agree that there was never going to be any police coming around and actually enforcing it.
It's just,
but I think it's just dangerous rhetoric to go out there and start
locking down bridges. I think it's also, honestly, personally, I think it's dangerous rhetoric too for a bunch of law enforcement to come out and say they're going to stop enforcing laws.
Where is it? No, but
think about it.
That no, I understand, but I also don't think that they. Well, I know that the quote didn't say we're not going to be enforcing the law.
Who's his boss? Who's his boss at the end of the day?
What is the law? What is the law that says I can't have 10? There's a recommendation. There's no law that says I can't have 10 people in my home, or I can't have 11 people in my home. You don't understand what I'm saying?
But
so
let me ask you. Let me ask you. No, I totally get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. No, I totally get what you're saying. But what about when we have shelter in places, something of that nature? When we had Sandy, if you were out on the street, you would have got arrested. If you were just driving around during the middle of
I don't agree with that either. Tell them to write their social security number on their arm, so if they get washed away, they can identify them and they can piss off, carry on with their day. It's not that there's no point in putting the law enforcement in the position in which they have to make their arrest either. Let the people make their decisions. If they want to stay when there's a goddamn hurricane coming in, if they're going to be as stupid, that's stupid.
I mean, that's the job they signed up. That's the job they signed up for. They signed up to enforce the laws.
Did they sign up to enforce real laws, or to enforce unjustly telling people, I'm going to arrest you because you didn't want to leave?
What I'm saying is they made their choice to work for the government. So they better sit there and suck it up when the government tells them some shitty work, because they picked it. Honestly.
Does the whatever county sheriff, Saratoga County Sheriff, Fulton County Sheriff, Suffolk County Sheriff, Does he report to the county, the county legislature, the county representative, the county executive, or does he report directly to, you know what I'm saying? Which chain of command is he following?
No, I get that. I get that. So he might be with Beeville. So he comes out, and if the county makes a law he decides he doesn't personally like, the county came out, decided
Oh,
they're
he has.
gonna arrest DWI drivers for the
I
first time, let's say for the first time. And so the sheriff, he says, I'm not gonna enforce DWI. Those aren't constitutional to me because this is the first place.
He should be gone immediately.
What's the
not allowed?
So
And I'll give you an
difference?
example.
There's not a difference at all.
Because those are actually
Honestly.
written into law. Those are written into law.
But at one point they weren't either.
It's not his matter to choose. It's the court's matter to choose what's written into law and what's not. Once it's into law, he has no say over it. But there's no law stating.
So when we're having a giant storm and the governor comes in and says, I'm issuing a state of emergency, you can't be out, it's not the governor's job to do that? It's not his place?
I think we're getting into the weeds a little bit, into a different issue.
No, I think it's all. I think personally, I just think they're both government employees. They shouldn't be.
Say that again. It cut out.
They're both government. They shouldn't be spatting at each other at the end.
Oh,
of the day.
and I'm 100%, and I agree.
That's something that if this sheriff or any of these sheriffs, not just that sheriff specifically, wanted to discuss, they should have made, and maybe they did try to make a move beforehand. Maybe they did call up Cuomo's office to say,
yeah,
we need to discuss this. I'm not comfortable with enforcing this. And maybe Cuomo told him to piss
no,
off.
it's equally as much of a political statement on the sheriff's end as well. I don't agree. I don't disagree there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You know what? It's not even this policy. It's not even just this policy. It's a political. I don't believe that government employees should be taking a political stance on anything.
Yeah, I agree.
But I guess in some cases they have to. I guess you know what they do because that's why they're there. I guess.
I want to let's flip to this because it's kind of along the same lines, and we didn't put this in the docket to talk about today, but I just thought of it, and it's kind of a little bit of a well-known one, so we will. So James Harden, you saw that, right? James Harden is requesting the trade out of there. Russell Westbrook had requested the trade out of Houston, and now James Harden's requesting one out of Houston. Harden said he wants to go to New York, and I don't know where Russell Westbrook said he wanted. I think he said he wanted to go to LA, maybe New York, but either way, both of these guys are requesting trades out of Houston, passing up no state income taxes on close to $50 million each, and they're going to go to LA or New York respectively and pay $20 million a piece off the top over the life of their contract, and just state taxes right up front. And people think a lot of times, well, it's just that's basketball. He wants the ring. He's okay with giving that up, this, that, and the other thing. But there's a story that came out, and I read it the other day, earlier today, and I thought it was kind of a bit just asinine. Daryl Morey, the owner of the Rockets, and had a couple different spats for being not necessarily as anti-Trump as the rest of the NBA in whole. I mean, the NBA is at the point where if you're a Republican in the NBA, you're ousted. It just is not allowed, essentially. But Daryl Morey is friends with this local restaurateur who owns a bunch of restaurants, a couple other businesses, and is a staunch Trump supporter and a very good friend of Daryl Morey, possibly a funder of the team. And the story was that these guys wanted out because they no longer wanted to play for Daryl Morey because of this reason. And it's along the same lines where it's like it's not your job to take a political stance in any way, shape, or form in that matter. But not only that, I mean, think of Tim Cook. I mean, Tim Cook is a gay CEO of one of the largest 3 companies in the world, a gay man, and he disagrees with the majority, 95% of what Trump says, what Trump believes in, what Trump's policies stand for, but still has the dick to set that aside and go and say, you know what, just because we disagree on 95% of the matters doesn't mean we're not going to sit down and try to do business together, because we have to. It's for the best interest of the country. It's for the best interest of the company. Completely in the opposite, these athletes are taking in the fact they're just like, no, I'm done. I'm going to go out. I'll pay 20 million extra in taxes just so I don't have to deal with someone who I don't like.
I mean, are they going to make more money in the long run, though? There's a lot going into that. There's a lot going into that right there. There's a lot going into
do you believe that story, or do you
will
think
they pay more in taxes?
they...
Will they pay more in taxes? Yeah, well, it could be. It could be why they left. 100%. If that's why they left,
and given that's the case, that's why they left. What are your thoughts?
If that's the case, then that's dumb. Why are they? And well, also it depends. I don't know basketball like that. Do they have a shitty team besides them? Are they going to win a ring anytime soon?
No. Both or James Harden.
There's a lot of things going into this.
His explanation was, I think we've passed our time for a chip. This, that, and the other thing. I want to go chase a ring. I want to play with KD. I think he said something to that effect. But I mean, he's had some spats with Daryl Morey in the past, because Daryl Morey is a pretty conservative guy and a Republican, and for this to come out on the back end,
hey, that's
seems
his
a
loss
little bit.
Then.
Yeah,
it's his loss.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was just curious. It's similar.
No, you know what the difference is between that and someone of a government job is? That's the private sector. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Okay.
That's not my tax money paying for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's our tax money paying to build those stadiums, but then they rent the stadiums out. So that's a story for a different day.
I'm completely a lot of people
that's a story for a different day.
Against the athletes making the money. I'm just going to say this quick, is that we all pay for that entertainment. They wouldn't get paid that much if the owners weren't making that much, and if we weren't paying for the entertainment. So they're all paid what they deserve.
100%. What I was going to say is a lot of people don't like athletes speaking out in politics or anything, but you know what?
They can do whatever they want.
As anyone and any private job, But the second you start the second you take your job, you've forfeited that right to speak in that public nature on an issue like that, unless you're a voted in by the people. Like if you're just a hired government worker and I walk in there and you start spewing your views to me while I'm at the line at the DMV, I'm going to be kind of pissed if you start telling me I'm X, Y, and Z because I like X, Y, and Z. I like A, B, and C. I'll be pissed.
So safe to say you're going to be placing the bet on Cuomo or the vote for Cuomo next time we're coming around for re-election here.
No, why would I be picking Cuomo? I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. I was just saying it was a rocky road to go down for
definitely
police to be. Yeah, that's especially, you know what? It's different down here, bro. Honestly, we have such big police forces. It's different. You guys I would be, if I was in a little ass town, if I was in a town like Kelvin,
Mm-hmm.
And I had, how many sheriffs does Kelvin's town have? They can't have more than 6.
I
5, 6 guys total.
No. So he's Saratoga County Sheriff.
So
it's the whole county. Or troopers are out there. That's it. They don't have a town police department.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
I remember him saying something about. I remember him saying something about someone he went to high school with became a cop. Because this is what I was saying.
Yeah, he's probably.
So I'm saying if you got a small police force. So let's use a different example. Maybe not Kelvin's town, but let's say you got a small police force, and now you got the police force taking on political views. What if you're on that other political side?
Yeah. No.
How do you feel walking around that town? And meanwhile, it's your tax dollars paying for these mans to be spewing that.
Mm-hmm. And in the case of that Saratoga County Sheriff, he said that full well knowing and full well having the confidence that the vast majority of the people in his county, probably larger than 75% of the population, are going to back his statement and realistically just back anything that's anti-Cuomo. So he said that.
Don't get me wrong, bro. I think most people are not going to give a shit about these rules on Thanksgiving. Everyone's going to be doing their own thing. Most people are backing him.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it's a slippery moral slope to go down.
it definitely is. It definitely is.
That's like some SS. That's like the SS is the type of people that project their views on you. Not saying that he is. He's
Yeah.
probably a great man, but the SS would be the type of people to constantly be projecting their views on you, even though they're the law enforcement.
Yeah. All right, let's flip to you want to talk about the number of 401k and IRA millionaires is at an all-time high now. So we
You'd
got
love to see that, but
we got
at the same
401k
time,
millionaires up to
we're also
262,000, IRA millionaires up to 234,000.
it's pretty low numbers, honestly.
Eh?
When you put it that way,
Well,
because
think
I was
about
just
it.
gonna
Think
say,
about
you know
it.
what,
Think
we might
about
be
it
at
this
all
way.
time highs, but we still have horrible savings in this country. Our
That's
country's
all.
horrible when it
I
comes to
don't
saving for
disagree, and
retirement.
let's also say that with the understanding that the large majority of wealth is derived from small businesses. So that's not going to, these are, the large majority of millionaires are small business owners or small to medium sized business owners. But still, like you said, it has to do with the
But not
savings.
even
We've
that. Over
increased
40
savings.
years. But over
But
40 years, if you worked a job, you'd get $1 million into an IRA if you just kept putting in from the beginning. So
yeah,
it's disgusting.
yeah,
We really, as a country, there needs to be more financial. That's one thing I would like to see the government pushing a little more. Some type of maybe raising the contribution limits, 401ks and IRAs to encourage more savings per year. Or
the thing that
and
you're
the
going
thing
to
is
find there is
you
though,
need lower income people to start saving more, honestly. That's more of the
yeah,
issue. So
and but a portion of that issue is that uh, there's a large portion of the government that, in order to keep the economy sustained while continuing to print dollars, they need those low income people to not be saving that money. They need to be just spending it right
spending.
back into the economy. So there has to be a point in which we stop printing the
Well,
money.
that's what happens when you get off a gold standard and you start creating fake inflation, and then you start that's the reason why inflation hurt in this country. You're not encouraged to save. You're encouraged. You should be able to put your dollars in a bank account. The bank should be able to lend those dollars out, and you should be able to get like 4 or 5% return on your money a year, and the bank should get 2-3%. That's the way it should work. You should be able to realistically put your money in the bank, and that should be the safest option.
We're miles
But
away
that's not
from
the way
that.
it works. Miles. But I've been hearing a lot of people saying that we're at the end of the longest bull bond run ever. 40 years of rates decreasing, and this might actually be the floor they're calling for. Some the guy who runs Wisdom Tree, Professor Siegel, I think his name is. He's
Mm-hmm.
at Wharton, finance professor.
Mm-hmm.
He said he actually sees in the next 10 years, the back ends, like the 30 years, going up.
Rates going up. So
Yep.
the curve
Not the short term, not like the 1, 2, 3 years, but the 10, 15, 30s. He
sees
said
the
he
curve
sees them going
steepening
up.
as
Yep.
opposed to flattening.
Yep.
What being the driver of that?
He said he sees 2 to 3% inflation coming.
Well, that's the big thing. A lot of people, the Fed continues to push that inflation is non-existent, but there are underlying areas where inflation is very, very real. And I think the
He said it's going to be
biggest
great
thing
for
that
sales. He said he sees sales thriving in
in
the
turn,
next
what do you mean sales?
sales and everything,
Just the
retail,
sales industry
just
as a
consumer
whole.
sales,
Yeah,
consumer sales, everything.
because prices are rising at such a rate.
Yep.
They're going to be rising at such a rate. And so, what
And
does that mean for the money long term? Because especially when you factor in inflation, typically over long runs, and this is something I have to work with clients about. Typically over long runs, we're seeing stocks do a 2-to-1 ratio, but that's prior to inflation. So if inflation's at 3% and your stocks did 10 and 5, they really didn't do 10 and 5. They did 7 and 2. And it went from a 2-to-1 ratio to over 3-to-1, in the blink of an eye. So what does that mean for our money if bonds are not the place to get risk-free yield anymore?
means you need a hedge. Hard assets.
And where's that?
Well, you got a few. You could start commodities, gold, platinum, silver, land, farmland. It's the cheapest land available. Farmlands. It's
I've
always going
seen
to
a
be
lot.
available.
I've seen a lot of people buying farmland. Uh, there's been some big finance guys who have bought farmland in the last month or so. But even just locally, I mean, we've got a lot of farmland off to the east of me for going for a long, long ways, basically over into Massachusetts and Vermont. And I've seen a ton of sales of just large chunks of land of farms. I know of one specifically right near the
Maybe
girlfriend's
consider.
uncle's house. Huge farm purchase, and then a complete overhaul of the farm. Built a bunch more. I don't even know what you call them, cattle stalls and all these different things. And then I guess knocked a bunch of stuff down and increased the size of the farming fields, put brand new farmhouses on it and everything. The place is awesome. So
Maybe you
yeah, you
should
see
consider
people.
throwing 10 grand, buying yourself some acreage and just leaving it there. Just holding it, paying the taxes as a little write off every year.
Yeah, that's actually not a bad
Like
idea. I
the
mean,
interest, right
especially
off the interest on the
yeah,
mortgage, and
and the
just
mortgage and everything.
do
And
nothing with it. You don't even have to fix it up with that guy. Just hold it. I'm considering it. I'm considering coming up near you guys. Well, not near you guys, probably over more in the east, but
yeah,
like 2.5 from me, more eastward, not instead of
yep.
straight.
hmm No, I mean, yeah, that's there's plenty out there that's probably pumping up at maybe even a higher rate uh, than the rates of stuff up here, and especially with the mass exodus of New York City. People are looking for land as a commodity.
Yeah. And then of course, you got my favorite, Bitcoin,
I was just
best
going to
hedge
say
in the
that
world.
that us
I
us
was
talking
discussing with
about that
someone.
brings in two different things. A Bitcoin continuing to pump, even though the media is not saying a word about it.
Not
Uh,
a
it
word.
and also the fact that 300,000 people left New York City thus far this year. So I guess we'll start with the Bitcoin and then see where it leads us.
Well, so Bitcoin, let me tell you this. I had someone hit me up. Now, their money is with a pretty big known advisor. Very big known. Makes good money. He's a very, very smart man. And this is what I don't get. So now this person has a very large, diversified portfolio. They could easily, when Bitcoin was at 10,000, it would have been less than 7, 8, 6% of the portfolio, the total portfolio. So about the size of one of their positions.
Mhm.
And that position would have already done 115%. Do you think they have any stock positions that did 115%? Now
Not
this
even a quarter of that, probably.
now this person hit up their advisor and said, what do you think about Bitcoin? I got a friend that's all over it. This man said to him, oh, well, he also said, he said, stay away, period. And then this person said, what do you mean? What if it goes to 100,000? He said, it very well can, but let's focus on making money the traditional way first. And you know what? That right there, he said it himself. It very well can. So why not allocate 2%, just 2%, not even a full coin to the portfolio? It's going to be a thing soon. Very, very soon. Within the next 10 years, people will allocate 2-3% of their portfolios to Bitcoin. The average person.
Yeah, I think the the rate at which advisors are actually considering it in terms of just advisors that I talk to, and fellow advisors that I talk to throughout the industry on a daily basis, uh, especially a lot of the older guys who are very traditional in a lot of senses. It's starting to creep into their mindset in terms of this is because it's something that it's in people's mouths, and they probably weren't bringing it up in conversation. I wouldn't bring it up in conversation, honestly, at this point. But people are bringing it up to them, and it's happened to me many times. And then I go down. I have no problem, having the conversation, but I'm not going to bring it up off the rip. And I think that's how they've been a lot of times. But uh, advisors as a whole have kind of had to start to consider and contemplate whether or not they're, what they're going to do with it, because it is something where people are coming to them and saying, I want to have some exposure to Bitcoin. I want to have some exposure to the crypto markets in some sense. And I think we talked even about, like Riot blockchain, or, different companies that are mining Bitcoin, just some type of exposure to that asset class at all, because it's such an unknown, but it's also been so green for a while now that, the
10
FOMO
plus
is
years,
yeah,
plus years of green. Had a little blip in the middle there for one,
it's the best
but
performing asset of all time thus far. And
it's pretty
listen,
wild.
yeah, and I think it says something, because I think everybody that's watching, they don't understand, but that for a long time, I was not a fan of it. I was not a buyer. I was not, I didn't even buy into I've always loved blockchain and the blockchain technology, completely elegant technology, going to be around for a long time regardless. But I was never, big on the Bitcoin or any specific coin. It was just the technology that I was always big on. But my mind shift has kind of gradually shifted, especially over these last 8 or so months. The dollar's debasing at just incredible rates, and it's just going to continue to go as we continue to print more money. Especially with lockdowns coming, they talk about the lockdowns are coming again. We see them. They said, the schools are shut down, but they also said that indoor dining is going to shut down soon in New York City in the next couple
I
of
saw
weeks.
that
Was the quote
possibility.
from De Blasio. It's happening all over, and if that happens, you talked about the daycares, the schools closing, which means businesses are going to have to, or workers are going to have to either work from home or be laid off, whatever the case is. Stimulus is going to have to come, or the economy is going to go to shit. And if stimulus comes, well, then the dollar just gets debased further and further and further, and it just really opens up a running hole for Bitcoin to continue on down the field.
Definitely. And not even just Bitcoin, which, I'm a big believer in Bitcoin, but there's obviously people who aren't. So there's an opportunity for a lot of things. Like we were saying, land, commodities, the dollar's just going to keep going. It's just going to keep plummeting. People are predicting
Yeah.
10 to 20%
That
next year.
means, yeah,
20 on
like
the
you
high
said,
year.
real estate, gold, silver, I mean, any precious metals, Bitcoin, land, really any hard asset that you can get your hands on
I
is
read
always going
something.
to benefit in a debased dollar market, or when the dollar continues to devalue at the rate it is.
That 93% of the S&P right now is completely intangible objects.
Yeah, I think I saw that headline. So what they were saying was intangible assets are increasing.
Yeah.
Now, is that intangible assets on a balance sheet, or?
Probably intangible assets on a balance sheet, as in like this is our company's secret sauce, so it's worth
Yeah,
40
that and
billion.
goodwill, or that and
Yeah,
goodwill. Yeah, yeah. Just
exactly.
yeah, the most valuable things you'll ever get your hands on that you'll never get your hands on because they don't exist.
Exactly.
No, it's
Things you
good.
had to pay the most for that you'll
I
never
always,
actually see.
yeah, I always loved that when I was doing credit underwriting, and commercial credit underwriting, and the business would come across my thing and they're looking for a loan of whatever size, and on the balance sheet you see a nice chunk in the intangible assets or goodwill, and it's a small company that I've never heard the brand, the name of. They don't really have a big brand or anything, and I'm just sitting there like, what's your goodwill? What's your intent? You don't have you don't have brand value. What
You don't have a
this
moat.
is just
What
a
are
number.
you?
Yeah, this is just a number you put in there so you get approved for the credit. And then I'd probably
Yeah.
approve them for the credit anyway, because their cash flow was all right. But
Yeah. Whatever, as long as it's in the credit lending standards, just
yeah, exactly. Cash flows at 1.2 times. We're giving it a go.
it's a go.
It's a go. Only way they make money. So
That's wild. So what else we were looking into? The exodus of New York City. I mean,
yeah,
there's New York State for years. This has just
yeah.
been the acceleration, this moment right
Mm-hmm.
here. But yeah, these people are running. Why wouldn't you? De Blasio's locking down left and right.
Yeah, and I think that not a lot of it, but a portion of it has to do with just infighting within the state. I mean, Cuomo and De Blasio are just members of the same party. They're going at each other left and right. They're not on the same page. I mean, nobody that's in government is on the same page with Cuomo. That's upstate, so you're getting pushback from upstate on Cuomo. Then Cuomo can't find a friend in the downstate people either. But the downstate people don't like De Blasio either, and they don't like the upstate people either. And it's all just become a kind of a conjumbled mess of a bunch of people yelling in a bunch of different directions. And it's leading to businesses closing and 300,000 plus people leaving. That's a lot of tax revenue, especially at the rates in which you're taxing people. And the majority of those people that are leaving are down in the city, which are even higher tax brackets or even higher tax rates in those counties and stuff. When does New York feel the effects? And I think we talked about this a bunch of episodes ago. It's that it's not going to be felt right up front, but years from now, years down the road, is when you're going to start seeing the real effects of it. And I mean, it's a matter of whether or not they can get the people to come back, or at least some people to come back.
I think some of the effects being seen for years. How many times do you drive past just abandoned factories? Straight abandoned, like just rusting on the side of the freaking road.
Mhm.
Like, I think we're just going to see a lot more of that for a little bit, honestly, on a much larger scale that we have.
Throughout New
People
York.
are going to flee. They're going to flee. Yeah, they're going to flee to the southern states, the states with no taxes.
So
states that
what does
people
that
vote
mean?
with their feet. People vote with their feet.
What does that mean
if they
for those states? What does that mean for the North Carolinas, for the South Carolinas, for the Georgias, for Virginia, for Florida, for the Panhandle, who are largely, they've been red for years and years. They're very conservative in the way they think, and
they better be prepared for the New York ways to come down, because they're going to expect those people to move faster. No doubt. They're not going to stand there and wait 20 minutes for their breakfast sandwich to be made. They're going to be like, come on, man, I need my bacon, egg, and cheese, bro. Like, let's go.
There's going to be no more Sunday drives in the South. That's not
no.
We're not. Yeah, that's done.
They're going to hit him with the dead ass. You're.
Yeah.
They're going to start hitting with the New York phrases.
There's going to be a bunch of people getting hit by cars because they're just going to be firing across the crosswalks. And the Georgians, they don't know. They're just going to be driving through the crosswalks and fucking lighting people up.
Yeah, no, literally,
it's not going to be good.
I think we'll see because obviously, like, a New York conservative is most likely different than a Southern conservative, different than a Midwest conservative. So I think we will see a clash of almost, even though we're all Americans. But I think we'll see different types of conservatives. Like, you'll see that
on the flip side, though, a Georgia Democrat is different than a New York Democrat, without a doubt, too.
100%.
And I think we're already seeing the what's happened over the last 2 years in the Democratic Party, and that's you're kind of starting to see the results. And it's a very good point that the Republicans kind of have to have that on their watch, that this is kind of where it's going if we don't get some things worked out early, because in 2 years, we very well may be in the same position where we're, just thrashing each other, infighting. Nobody knows where to go. Nobody's taking the lead. Or the people who are taking the lead are just an absolute mess. And it's going to get squirrely on that side too, if they don't take some action up front. This is something that the Democrats to see coming 2 years ago, in the fact that they started losing races that they didn't think they were gonna lose, and the people that are largely independent were iffy on the leadership of the party, and kind of leaked to one side. Now it looks like they might have retained enough to get through this election, but I think all of them have acknowledged, Pelosi's acknowledged, that there's some real problems. And like I said, the Republicans are going to have the same thing coming if they don't get their heads on straight quick.
Definitely. I mean, they're not going to be mentioning socialism anymore now if they've won.
Yeah. You think so? You think it's gone? You think it's gone?
Yeah, 100% for the most part.
Now what happens? What happens if Biden doesn't make it?
What do you mean if Biden doesn't make it? You think if Kamala Harris becomes president, she claims she's going to make equality.
I don't think she uses the word socialism. No, I would agree there.
No, I know, but she said she's going to make everyone equal or some random.
That's what I mean. That. She's gonna say.
So let's hear her plan. She hasn't even laid out a plan. It's all bullshit. It's like everything. It's all bullshit.
I have heard one plan from her.
Let's think. Hold on. Let's talk about actions versus words. What has Kamala Harris done in her actions? She's arrested tons of black men for weed, but she wants to make everyone equal. So let's I
I
think
was just gonna
it's
say
gonna be
I've heard one plan from her, and it was the time that she said uh, that it was basically the time where she said she didn't really talk about her plan, but in not talking about her plan, she talked about her plan, and it's when, and we talked about this before, when Pence was on the vice presidential debate and said, "Well, are you going to pack the court?" And she said, "Do you want to talk about packing the court?" She fired off for a couple of seconds, and then said, "Do you know how many Supreme Court justices are African American?" And at the end, Pence ended up saying, just for the record, she didn't answer the question, but that was the only time in which I think she did really answer the question and give her plan, because that was her plan. They're going for the need for more African Americans on the court to hammer home adding justices. But now that we're after the election and months in, it looks like
no, but I mean, again, you got to look at her words and look at her actions. Her
yeah,
actions don't match her words. They
yeah,
just don't. And you know what? People could say whatever they want. At the end of the day, I could sit here and I could tell you, I could, I don't know. What could I? I could tell you that tomorrow I'm going to go out and buy a Lamborghini. It's not going to
yeah,
make it true.
yeah. Now let's flip here. So the Biden team lead on the U.S. Global Media Agency of the Biden Transition Team, which is about the longest name I've ever heard for something that's completely ridiculous, says he's not sold on the First Amendment. Thinks there needs to be changes to the First Amendment. What are the thoughts?
Changes to the First Amendment.
That's what he says.
I mean,
He's speechless.
there's always been a debate of whether the Constitution is what it says or if it's open to debate. So there's always been 50% of this country who believes that the Constitution is open to interpretation, while there's another part of this country that believes it's word for word, which I mean, and if you sit here and you say it should be taken word for word, and then you tell me I can't own a rocket launcher, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So honestly, I do believe that it is open to interpretation.
I would agree.
But do I think that they should? Do I think that it needs to go any tighter than we are right now? Hell no. I think we need to loosen up. If anything, when it comes to the First Amendment, we need to loosen up when it comes to that.
Your interpretation, meaning
No, we need to be able to get back to saying whatever the fuck we want. If I want to drop an F-bomb in the middle of the meeting, most people don't care. If I want to make a joke about three guys walking to the bar, one's white, one's black, one's Spanish, it's not racist. It's a joke. How about the other day? I was watching this movie from the 90s. I went to a movie theater while they were open. Did you see all Regal closed in New York again, just like I said, how that was going to happen. Yep. But so that happened. I was at a movie. They made a joke. This was a movie from the 1990s, PG movie. It's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live action. You know what I'm talking about? Like they're actually in the teenage suits, like they're running around New York City eating pizza, and they're riding back in a truck, right? They're hiding out in the back of the truck, the turtles, and they pull up to the sewer and they hop out, and one of them goes, "Now I know what it feels to ride around without a green card. What it feels like to ride around without a green card." This is a 90s kids movie.
Yeah.
So like it's just a joke. It's not being serious. We need to get back to, in that aspect, what I mean by loose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This political correctness. Yeah. There's no need to be politically correct. You know, if you want to be politically correct, be my guest. Do you? If you don't want to, if it hurts you to say those words, don't say them. But don't get hurt because someone else says them.
Yeah. Let's talk about Twitter now. Let's talk a little bit about Twitter. So I have two things that I want to talk about on Twitter. First of all, I was reading something the other day, and it talked about China in Twitter, and the fact that Twitter took down 174,000 fake Chinese accounts in June alone of 2020, just in June alone. And
I would like to see what they consider a Chinese account, though.
The Chinese fake accounts. So what do you think?
Because
you know more about this, a lot of this technology stuff than
now. Let me tell you, I've played around with Twitter before. I've got it banned on more than a few accounts. So I'm not gonna lie. I bet you there was a few times where my Twitter has been considered a foreign bot of some country just because I use a VPN and I'm out there saying outlandish things trying to just cause a problem. This was years ago. But so I wouldn't be surprised if, honestly, because there is definitely a portion of this world that loves to go on the internet and just fuck with people, just to watch the world burn. So I'm not saying obviously 170,000. That's a lot of people. I bet 80% of those were freaking computer run bots from China.
Mhm.
But I bet you those people who are just some bored ass motherfuckers just sitting there going, let me get someone pissed off today and tell Sally that's Trump, she's deplorable. And then he went right over to the Biden page and said, oh, you like Biden? You're a socialist. And he was
Yeah.
just messing with people on both sides.
No, yeah, they're out there.
Definitely.
The other,
and you know what? Honestly, people like that, Twitter, they created that that atmosphere themselves. If you know, Twitter is not like any other social media.
no.
The way it works with its own little sub communities and threads, and
Mhm.
it's totally different. And there's such a community on Twitter of people that have never even met each other that are like the best of friends and family. I
Mhm.
have a friend that lived in my town, R.I.P. Kyle Lamb. This man was very big in the Twitter world, big in the Twitter sports world. He was so big at one point that he put out a tweet saying that who was it? Gary Sanchez played for who played for Boston that played for the Yankees
Johnny
recently.
Damon.
Forgot who it was. Yeah, yo, that's literally who it was. Johnny Damon. There was a trade rumor about this man while he was in the middle of a game. He
Mhm.
came off. He came off the field and started reaming out his coach. It was all fake.
Really?
My boy tweeted that. He had
Wow.
such a big Twitter following that
Yeah.
he created a fake profile. He had like 25,000 people, and everyone loved his tweets, and they started retweeting it. And an ESPN reporter saw it, thought it
Mhm.
was real, retweeted it, and then that ESPN reporter got
Good
it tweeted
call.
like hundreds of thousands of times. So these trolls, these people like that, it's not. Well, I was saying with the community, these people, like, they literally became best friends. Like, he went and visited these people. He traveled around the country.
Mhm.
So Twitter has its own thing, its own community. But people like that, Twitter has allowed them to thrive. Like clearly, this man is famous. What isn't there someone up near you that ran a famous Twitter, Barry McCoughlin or something like that? Wasn't that someone near you?
Barry McCockiner, possibly. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. You
that's the
know
name
that
of the
Twitter?
Twitter. Yeah, yeah. That might be someone up near me. I really don't
That
know.
was. I'm pretty sure it is someone up near you. We don't have to get into specifics. Obviously, we don't want to blow up anyone's spot. I'm pretty sure he did get blown up already, though. I think he got
That's funny.
ousted. But
Wow.
but he had like 100,000 followers, all just being in this bot fake Twitter. Did you
Mhm.
hear that story of the man who I think it was a white man came out. He had a white professor was pretending to be a black man on Twitter, and he ended up becoming like a famous Twitter person, like in this activist sphere. He became an influencer. So he was tweeting one day from his personal account as if he was a black man, and everyone was so confused. And then
Accidentally
eventually it
was
led
on the
back
one
to all this
account.
stuff.
Wow.
And
What
then
a
it all led
fool.
back to this stuff. It was like that other lady we discussed that one time about her being fake. Remember, I think it was the first episode, we discussed a professor with a fake Twitter account, but this was the same thing. White man pretending to be black. Like, you
I
never
do
know on the
remember
internet.
actually hearing about that. Uh, what did you see on? Did you see anything on the Biden cancer research? Did you hear about that?
No, not much. I
So
did see
so
something come
yeah,
across
Biden's
about
cancer,
Biden and
his
cancer.
cancer research firm, and uh, his oldest son, I think, his first son, Bo Biden, who now passed away, now deceased of cancer. So Biden started this cancer research foundation. The firm spent a total of $3.7 million on salary and $0 on research and development.
No shit. When was this?
This is
Like, this all came out like recently?
this all came out within the last week or two. And I believe that 3.7 million in salary is between 2017 and 2019, or 2017 and 2020, in terms of when that was paid out. So $1 million a year, roughly.
That's wild. And
Yeah.
what has he made a statement on this yet publicly on what's going on with that?
No, he doesn't. I mean, you know him. He doesn't talk about anything that comes out, and
Yeah,
they don't ask him the questions, so he doesn't have to answer any of the tough questions. But
definitely. No, I agree with you on that. They definitely don't ask him a lot of tough questions, but
No.
that is some shit, honestly. In
Yeah, and
that
I mean,
case, I mean,
you would think that,
he better have a good explanation for it.
yeah, that's
Better
right.
have.
And you would think that, I mean, buddy, your own son passed away from it. You would think that you would at least fund some of that 3.7 million into doing something. Do something, please do something. You know, it's a complete embarrassment to him and the family if this is. I mean, and there's so many things, and I'm sure we probably won't ever find out if it's true or not, which is the sad part of the matter. But uh, if it is true, just a sorry thing.
Yeah, definitely. If he was funneling money from people, this was like a donation thing. Like I would donate to this, like like
Yeah,
awareness
It was
group.
a charitable
Yeah.
organization. Yeah,
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of charities that are charities. People definitely need to realize that. A
without a
lot.
doubt.
A
Yeah.
lot. There's a
The
reason
Salvation
why.
Army is who's the man that founded the Salvation Army, but I mean, he lives on like a $12.5 million ranch.
Yeah,
He's got a boatload of money. Um, so you look at, I mean, it's not uncommon. It's commonplace for these organizations to be corrupt in some way, but uh, it really rubs me the wrong way that your own son passes away from cancer, and you don't even have the decency to actually put some money into research and development. If you're taking any funding at all, uh, you know, literally just $0 spent. Bad luck. I'll say that.
definitely a bad look. What I don't get is when when did his son pass away?
I'm not sure what year it was.
What I don't get is how they're allowed to have this foundation without actually ever doing anything except just paying people to do what? Just collect money? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
essentially, that's yeah. Yeah, I
So
don't know.
while I think he should have to answer for that if that's the case. Especially like you said, it's pretty disgusting that his
Mhm.
own son would have died of cancer and then for him to be doing something shady. So hopefully that's not the case. But I mean, a lot of the times I feel like it is the case with a lot of things, especially in that camp. There's been a lot of shady things going on. The Biden camp with a lot of backdoor deals, selling of government secrets. So definitely could be a way to funnel the money.
Yeah, it's
Book
like you
deals,
say.
deal way to funnel money. I don't think a lot of people realize that a lot of it's pretty easy for me to say, you tell me this secret, I'm gonna deal for $10 million,
Let's talk about that then.
and
So
someone else is gonna write the book for you.
what do you think about the idea of Cuomo coming out with a book in the middle of a pandemic that's affected his
Oh,
state
bullshit,
so much, and
bullshit.
he's
He's
going
just
to come
trying to
out with a
add to
book
his
in
own net worth.
yeah, and the fact that people don't call him out on a mass scale about that. I mean, you're in the middle of a mass pandemic. You've got tens of thousands of seniors on blood on your hands. I mean, deaths on your hands from nursing homes and all the like. I mean, every waking moment, you should be focused on how to uh, prevent this from reoccurring in New York or from coming back. B, make up for what happened in the first place, and C, try to fix some semblance of the economy, because we all know the state is toast in terms of the budget, the balance sheet, and in the overall economy, because of people leaving, business shutting down, because of everything that's going on with the lockdowns. And he's devoting time to writing books, or even I'm sure he didn't write the thing himself, as you said, but uh, devoting any thought or manpower to writing the book is a complete slap in the face to all New Yorkers, I think. And
I
on
hope he
top of
put in
that,
there. I hope he
on
put in there how he didn't let anyone leave the nursing homes.
and on top of that, he just recently took a $25,000 pay raise in the last couple of days too. So that's a nice cherry on top of the cake for him.
Definitely. Like I said, book deals are a sketchy game. I wouldn't be surprised if this was handed to him on a silver platter, if you know what I mean, somehow.
Yeah, yeah. Did you
But
see? Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna flip to the next topic once you're done, so
Oh,
you
so
have that
but
ready.
honestly, I would love to see him come out and admit that he messed up.
Uh, it'll never happen. You got no chance of seeing that. But I'm with you. I would love to see it too. I think we deserve it,
Yeah.
but it's not coming. Bill Belichick. Let's talk about Bill Belichick. Did you see that one?
I mean, I know you mentioned it, but no,
Yeah.
I didn't really see anything on it.
So yeah, we've been talking a little bit, well, multiple times now about the Armenia Azerbaijan conflict that's going on, ceasefire recently. Turkey coming in and back in Azerbaijan. Actually, Turkey just recently attacking Syria just in the last couple of days too. So making some other moves across that Middle Eastern Asia region. Um, but Bill Belichick came out and essentially said that the United States needs to go in and stop Turkey and stop Azerbaijan from inflicting the brutality on the Armenian people, from to stop the Azerbaijan from taking over the land that Armenia had been occupying for years. And we've seen it before. Bill Belichick, last time they won the Super Bowl, when he was at the White House, he wore an Armenian pin on his suit jacket. And it all stems back to his best friend in the organization, and probably, I mean, he doesn't do anything other than football, so I would say his best friend, and overall. Uh, I'm not familiar with the name. I can get the name, but he's the director of football and head coach operations with New England as well. But he's an Armenian gentleman, and like I said, Belichick's best friend. So it looks like Belichick's kind of used his platform a little bit to speak out. But an interesting thing, because you don't hear much from him in terms of anything. I mean,
Definitely
even
not. You
even
never
related
hear from
media
him.
and football. And
Hmm.
he comes out and says that. What do you think about that?
I like you said, he doesn't really speak on anything. So clearly, this is something that to him is personal. Like you said, how it's so clearly this is something big for him. And I mean, you know, just because Bill Belichick says something, I don't really care what his view is personally. Like, he's just another person. I'll take a look at it. But
Mhm.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that will care what his view is, and I'm sure for his friends and for the Armenian people, it will definitely help them. It's like anything. It's like these influencers helping sell a product or helping Joe Biden or helping Trump. It's influence. It's their influence over people, able to convince them of it's amazing how people will just follow someone's views. So I'm sure there's plenty of people who are diehard Patriot fans right now that haven't really been thinking about this Armenian Turkey conflict going on right now at all. But now that Bill Belichick spoke on it, they're pro Armenia. If anyone asks them, they're gonna go, "Oh, I'm with Armenia,"
Yeah,
which
and they,
you know,
like you said,
it may
they're
not be the best thing in the world, but like I said, it's
yeah.
definitely gonna bring awareness.
And
100%. It's gonna be good
like you
for the
said,
Armenian
those
people.
people are, yeah, like you said, those people are ignorant to the actual facts of the matter. But I do have to not kind of, I do have to agree with Bill on this one. I mean, the
No,
Azerbaijan and Turkey have been the aggressors of, I mean, just deadly
I
attacks
do.
on the Armenian people and
Why
taking
wouldn't
over
you
the
not
land that
speak
they've
out
been.
if
Yeah,
why would you not speak out if you have the platform?
yeah, yeah,
100%.
yeah.
I'm
It's
sure it
just
will raise awareness.
and like you said, it's just
But I feel like
interesting. I
we
mean,
just
he
have so
doesn't.
many.
Yeah, he doesn't speak on anything that goes on in America or anything that's happened in America
Definitely.
today.
Never. Like you
Yeah,
said, you never hear him speak even on football for the most part. If he has a
yeah,
bad game, he gives them the two words and he pieces out. He's all right, we're out. I'm done.
yeah, yeah. I found it very interesting that he said anything at all. It was kind of brought about because he was talking to the reporter, and he was mentioned by the U.S.
Yeah,
Secretary of
what
State,
both
or
is
what
about? What
Steve
yeah,
Steve
what
Miller,
both?
whatever position he has in the cabinet, or Trump's staff, had praised Belichick or whatever, and they had mentioned it to him in an interview, and he said, great, thank you. But while we're on the topic, I just kind of want to take this time to say the U.S. government and let me see. I actually have the quote exactly right here. Um, momento, por favor. Okay, here we go. I'll just say while we're on the subject, I read his point about combating traditional threats, and I couldn't help but think and hope that we've seen from other countries around the world, and I hope that our country will take action against Turkey and Azerbaijan for the unprovoked and deadly attacks on Armenians. We've seen that when a humanitarian crisis and things like that, like ethnic cleansing, go unpunished. They just continue to happen. I hope that we can put a stop to that.
No, I like that statement a lot. He didn't
Yeah.
really go into it. He didn't make it political, really. I
No.
mean, he did speak on the sides. He did speak on what side he wanted 100%, but obviously he got to. But
In
he
addition
just
to
said
that,
he just said how are we having human genocide happening? How are we allowing this
yeah,
to happen?
yeah. That's a good point. On
How can you
top of
not
that,
agree with that?
Boston is a kind of a hot spot for the Armenian community. I think there's probably 30, 40, 50,000 Armenians in the general Boston area. So,
Definitely large
yeah,
city. I
not
mean, you
only in
see how many
his,
Armenians we have down here.
yeah. And I think we've talked about this before. It appears that, and obviously I'm not Armenian, you're not Armenian, but it
Yeah,
appears that they kind of generally stick in the same communities. Even in the United States, they stick kind of close by each other.
definitely. They're a
Yeah.
tight knit group. They're like they're almost like they're a cult. They're a religion. They're like a culture, and almost like the only way I can describe this religion, like how you went to public school, obviously, like growing up. Did you go to like Catholicism classes on top of that to go get your
Like church school,
communion
yeah,
or
church school Thursday
yeah.
afternoons.
So
Yeah,
like exactly. So like you kind of have that. So you knew kind of like the Catholics in your area.
Mhm.
Now I know, like for example, the Armenian kid that I always went to school with, like throughout elementary school and middle school, he would go to his it was like a Catholic church. It was some type of Christian church as well, but it
Mhm.
was all Armenians. So he knew every Armenian in the
Yeah,
square, in the
general area.
circle, in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
radius. Yeah, so
yeah.
they all know each other, and it's different. It's a little bit different than being Catholic, because being
Mhm.
Catholic can be anyone. They're all a specific
Yeah.
heritage
But
over in a different country. I
if you
can see
think
why
about
they
it
have
too,
this nationalism, this strong sense of
well,
nationalism.
I was gonna say you think about it too, and the fact that they were attacked so brutally by the Ottomans and by the Turks. Um, I mean, large genocide taking place for a long time. When you're attacked that heavily as just a population or a group, um, you're probably going to band together and stay tight knit and kind of stay within that support and that comfort structure. And I would say on the flip side of that, be a little cautious of everybody else in general, because if you're a team and you get beaten down and beaten down and beaten down and beaten down and attacked by everybody, it makes you a stronger team. I'll tell you can kind of
Definitely.
say it in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we just hit a quick pause for a second?
Yeah. All right. I had a brief pause. We're back though. Let's flip. I'll give you 3 topics here, then we can pick in which order we're going to go with and kind of wrap it up. So let's talk about first I have the Twitter, back to Twitter. The little disclaim about election fraud is disputed that's been bouncing around. Then I got
I mean,
Pfizer
I can switch.
bumping their certainty to 95 after whatchamacallit there, comes out with 94.5%. Pfizer was 90%. What's the company?
Moderna.
Moderna, yeah, comes out with 94.5%, and then Pfizer comes back out and says it's 95%. Uh, and
95.
then and then and then the negative 16 point or well, I'm sorry, negative 16.9 trillion dollars of negative yielding debt in the world right now. So those 3 topics, whatever order you want, and then we'll wrap up.
All right. Let's hit it with the Twitter first, because
Yeah.
that it's the same thing with Instagram. It's all those
Mhm.
platforms. But this is just, my cousin posted a picture the other day of his wife woodworking or something on a door,
Mhm.
and it said something like, what did it say? It literally only had the word vote in the caption.
Mhm.
And this is after the election. And they got the thing saying, to view data, click here, like,
Mhm.
so it's anything.
My question is why you see
Why should
this
should
claim
they
about
do it?
election
Hell no.
fraud is disputed. You see another one. This claim about the election results is disputed, but in the same sense, well, if Biden tweets that he's doing something with a transition team or anything of that nature, if Biden tweets anything about him being the president or president-elect, why is there not an equal button that says, well, this is disputed, because it's disputed on both sides? So I mean, and Twitter's kind of gone to the point
I
where they're
mean,
just
but
blatantly choosing.
well, yeah, no, I think no, I've seen it.
That,
I've
that
seen both sides get
I
hit
know
with
what
both.
you mean. I know what you mean. The
What I'm
point
saying
is,
is
if
there's a
you're going to
giant
do it to
database.
one, if you're going to do it to one, you got to do it to both, or don't do it to all, or don't do it at all.
No, I'm saying I've seen Biden and
Have you?
liberals get,
Well,
yes.
and I'm not
And
even
I'm telling you,
just
this is
because
my thing
I'm
on
a
it.
conservative, or
This is my
just
thing.
haven't seen it myself. I haven't
No,
personally
I
seen
know.
it.
I know. No, I have seen it.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
I'm
Okay.
telling you, this is why I think it happens. I think they have a giant database
Mhm.
that it knows, like, it has words like election, fraud, all different just keywords that the second someone tweets it out with that, it puts that on there because
Yeah.
there's more of a likely chance that it's going to be hit on one of those. And I
Mhm.
think it happens to everyone. Do I think bigger people call up Twitter and they bitch about it? The Biden team calls up Twitter. Do I think they're going to remove Biden's? Yeah, obviously they've been helping out
Yeah.
Biden the whole time. Them removed, but I have seen them get in. I've seen them get fact checked as well.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's.
And it's not even that they get fact checked, because sometimes it's something that doesn't even need to be fact checked. Sometimes it's just there on the post. A lot of times it's just there, and I'm telling you, it's because the database is wrong. It just gets it wrong.
Yeah. No, that
It's
makes
all a
complete
computer
sense,
doing this. It's
because
not a person.
there is a lot
I
of
don't think
times
it's
where
a
I do
person
see it
sitting
on.
there.
I do see it on some tweets that I'm like, what? Why? This isn't even
Yeah.
related to it at all. Yeah.
It's just because there's 2 or 3 key
Mhm. Mhm.
and they throw it up. That's like when you're searching anything, even on Google, you could search keywords. You could just put in random phrases and it
Yeah.
will pull it back from somewhere on the internet.
Yeah, that's true.
So
All right, let's go
it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Big tech is a lot of crazy stuff, that we as people just gave them too much power, bro. And if we want to take it back, we can.
Well, it'll be
We
interesting
just got to start. People got to make their own stuff.
how the next administration deals with
I think they should leave it alone. I don't think anyone should touch it.
Section 280 or whatever it is there, that what do you mean they expand on that? What do you?
They shouldn't touch. They should just leave big tech alone.
They should be free to censor what they would like to
100%. Let them dig their own graves.
Mhm.
Let them dig their own graves.
So you're thinking of
government regulation never solves anything.
Yeah. Well, let's
Well, for the most part, that's
yeah.
that's a bold statement I just made there. I want to retract that statement, and I want to say, for the most part, government regulation does not solve a lot. It creates more problems.
That's good, because I'm going to put a note down. We're not going to talk about that today, but tomorrow when we get on, we are going to talk about that, and the idea of Apple being or monopolizing that market, and we'll get into that tomorrow. But let's turn to Pfizer now, and then get to the negative debt. So Pfizer puts out the 90% effective vaccine, and then Moderna comes out a couple of days later. They put out one that's 94.5. And then just last night, after Moderna came out with 94.5, all of a sudden Pfizer has a 95%. They did the math wrong, or they chested some more math, and now it's 95% effective. What do you make of that?
It's just it's you know what? That's part of the reason why I told you I don't like biotechs. I don't like pharmaceuticals. I don't like anything about that nature, because it's all statistics. It's all made up. And at the end of the day, the CDC can sit there and be like, no, we don't like your statistics.
Mm-hmm.
Or the FDA, whoever it is, can sit there and say, we don't like your statistics. Or they can be, just in this case, Pfizer and all these companies, they're just running through it right now. Are they really looking at the numbers? Probably. Mm-hmm. But is it as thorough as it would be normally?
To the flip side of that, should they go through the same thoroughness? as they normally do, or should they try to push something through with some speed?
No. There should be less red tape in general for everybody, 100%.
So going
Because
forward,
then people wouldn't bullshit statistics as much if there wasn't as much red tape. But you needed
not
to
just
hit
a matter of getting a coronavirus vaccine out, but in general, biotech should not have as much red tape to push things through into later stages of testing or into the actual markets or into actually administering it to people.
Yeah,
Okay.
nah, definitely not. If people, the market, the free hand of the market will either dig the grave for you or elevate you, one or the other. And the only person who can decide that is you, really. And if you're adapting or not. If the iPhone all of a sudden is the only phone there is, and they just become shit, someone else is gonna create something better.
Yeah,
it will happen. If Apple gets too big for their britches and they stop innovating, someone will create something better.
I agree, and we're gonna. That's like I said, that we're gonna spend a ton of time on that, and we'll probably. We're gonna spend a good 30 minutes on that tomorrow.
Definitely.
Well, another note on this though. Same thing. We talked about this, that Pfizer's CEO had a block of shares that immediately that he said that it was in place before, and I guess it was. I didn't see the market order before, but I also didn't check for the market order before. But it was said that it was in place before the day after, or the day that Pfizer drops their vaccine. Then, ironically enough, the same thing happened with Moderna's CEO. The day that they dropped the vaccine, she sold out of a large chunk of shares. I think $13 million worth of shares, maybe more. Right in that one lump.
And they both sold over 50% of their total shares.
So what do you?
Like
Yeah. So you heard about this as well? What?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
One, they're definitely scheduled. It's 100%. They're not lying. That's a fact. They're scheduled. But if you're the CEO of a company and your stock sale is coming up in 2 weeks, are you going to pump the company 2 weeks before and watch it drop? No. You're going to now and then catch the 20% gains and make out like a dog.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's capitalism. Yeah. Honestly.
I'm on your side.
You get rewarded. You get rewarded for leading the ship. Yeah. You get rewarded for leading the ship in good times.
No, and I'm along the same lines as it. I don't necessarily think that like you said, I think it was in place prior to the fact, but I also think there was definitely consideration into the fact that we might have the vaccine right now, but if I wait 9 days, I'm gonna make $25-30 million. Well, I'm probably gonna wait 9 days. I'll be honest with you. So
it's only human nature,
and the idea behind it, and people will probably get up in arms about that. The fact of the matter is, if they released it, or if they told the markets that they had that vaccine 9 days earlier or 9 days later, the market's going to react the same. And either way, it's not getting to the people any earlier than it would have had you released it. The news that you had 95% effective.
Exactly. It's not getting anywhere any faster.
Yeah. So whereas a lot of people throw their arms up and see a large problem with that, I don't necessarily think it's the
end of the world,
the most moral thing or ethical thing to do. But like you said, I also don't think it's the end of the world, and I also understand where the CEOs of both of those companies are coming from in doing stuff like that.
They put a lot of hours in, a lot of hard work.
Yeah, and they're going to save a lot of lives when it does end up coming out. So, like you said, you reap the benefits for being the savior. That's
not even gonna lie. I've just been sitting here imagining selling $25-30 million worth of stock in one shot like that. It's making my mouth water right now.
Yeah. Except
pretty wild. And you know what? Honestly, these guys are rich.
Except the 10 days prior, when you're just sitting there and going, "Fuck, the tax bill is gonna be fat."
Yeah, but
little Philly Send is hoping that the calls shit the bed, so he's got some fucking tax write-offs when he sells those, right?
Exactly. You always need to have the positions you can cut for the tax write-off.
Yeah.
Oh, Biden's speaking right now, actually.
Screw that. Let's talk negative yielding debt. So negative yielding debt around the world has reached 16.9 trillion. China just issued what was it, $3.4 billion worth of negative yielding debt. So
Yeah.
basically, everywhere across the world is now tossing out negative yielding debt, except for the U.S. I mean, you
Which we
got
never
the
will.
yeah. I was just
It's
gonna say
against the
you've got the
law.
people who are saying that it's never gonna happen here. It can't
Well, the
happen here.
government will never sell it for negative. The government will never have an auction where they sell the T-bills for a negative rate.
Yeah,
Just
and
won't
that
happen. It's illegal.
explain that distinction because there's a lot of people that don't understand what you mean by that.
Like, so the government, for example, so say the T-bills are trading at negative, just for an easy number, negative 10 basis points.
Yeah,
And obviously, at that point, for people who don't understand, a bond trading at negative 10 basis points, the a bond that comes out at zero even is going to be more expensive price wise. So if the one that's trading at negative 10 costs you 900 to buy, the one that costs you 1,000 to buy. So basically, you could buy these T-bills at auction at zero and then sell them into the free market and catch the difference because the free market is trading at the negative one. So you're catching the difference in the people the price have to pay to catch the zero because the people have to pay that up price. Essentially, printing money.
that's exactly. We got a guest here. He just came in and hopped up. Yeah. Essentially printing money, and it's just another way for, and we've kind of reached a point
That's why
now
the
where.
bonds, that's why those 30-year bonds on the back end that are paying 5% are so much bread that they actually don't pay 5% anymore. But it's because we don't have anything that pays that anymore. It's like I said, how we spoke on earlier, we could be at the end of a 40-year bond run, and all this negative debt might be part of the reason that starts popping off. Because what private company, one, the government, what the governments are lending at is not the true interest rate. No private company is giving away money like that.
No,
They're not. If I'm lending you money, I want percentage back. I'm not having you give me less back.
well,
I'm
that's
not
what I
having
was
you
saying.
hold
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Firms are not gonna sell corporate debt at negative rates. What it comes down
Never.
to is just being another lever for the government to pull, and like they won't sell it, but now they have no. Once rates go to a negative, the fuck. Uh, dog. Once rates go negative, they no longer have interest rates to play with in order to increase or decrease the supply of money. Really, so their only option is to really
The
allow
Fed's back has been against the wall.
bet against the wall for many years now, and it's
Basically,
only
all they can do is
only
move
digging
the
a deeper
reserve
hole.
ratios. They can,
That's
at this point, the Fed can remove the reserve ratios, and that's about it. And at
well,
that point, what do you want? A run on the banks? Like,
and overnight lending rates, which is a whole deeper issue. And the fact that the Fed has literally just been pumping money in. And we talked about this. I mean, like you said, we had heard about coronavirus back in December for some different things, but we were also talking. I mean, probably before December about the amounts that the Fed was pumping into
that was like last,
overnight lending facilities just at such an egregious rate.
let me tell you, that was last September when those markets bugged out. And we had
Yeah,
those rate spikes where it went up to like 5% overnight, 6%
overnight.
overnight. It might have
Yeah,
went higher. It might have went to 10%.
yeah.
The rate.
I
It was a
remember
crazy
eight
amount.
percent at least at one
Yeah.
point. Yeah. And then the
And it
overnight
was
lending
all
rate
overnight. It was all the overnight.
for people that don't understand, 8% the overnight lending rate is, I mean, essentially impossible to meet by the institution taking the loan. But what these overnight lending facilities basically are, it's bank comes to the Fed to take overnight lending or intrabank lending overnight so that they can fund their operations for the next day, so that they can pay people out who need to take their cash out of their accounts, so they can pay people who they're meeting credit deadlines with or payment deadlines with, pay staff, etc. So you can imagine when those rates go to 8% overnight,
Causes some problems.
that's a volatile market, and yeah, it causes some real problems.
Yeah, it really and that's why the Fed has been working so hard to stabilize that market for so long now. And
Mhm.
there's been a few cases where it's been out of whack again, but for the most part, it's been doing all right,
Yeah,
honestly, from what I've
yeah.
seen.
Well, Jay Powell's still got a trigger on his money gun, so he's just
Yeah,
firing.
he's been printing. He's been printed all right.
Big Daddy Jay Powell.
I was speaking with someone the other day, and I told them, I said, man, I said, this is a historical time. I said, right now, if you're not in these markets, you're doing yourself a disservice because
Mhm.
we're just printing money till the day it comes down, honestly, at this point.
No, yeah,
To
and
be
that's
honest.
kind of the biggest factor and the biggest fear is that we've kind of reached the point where we're at the point of no return. We know that it's going to be bad regardless, and it's either a matter of it's going to be bad now, or we can try and print as long as it's feasibly possible and save the bad for some other day. And if you think about it, I mean, rational people might think about it and say, well, we should take the hit now, we'll rebuild, work on it. These people, Jerome Powell and the people in the Fed, that's not their idea, and it wouldn't be your idea if you were in their position. Their idea and what your idea would be is, let me push this off the road as far as I can until I'm no longer the one who's going to take the hit when this thing shits the bed.
They just want
Uh,
to be the hero
they
for
want to be the hero and not the villain, and somebody's got to be the villain. But it's not going to be Jay Powell. I'll tell you that he'll do anything he can to save his own ass. And I'm not completely against the guy, but I do think he's like I said, I do think he's in it to save his own ass a lot of
I think
times.
he's a puppet,
He,
personally.
that's basically where I'm going. And a puppet to who? Who do you think he's a puppet to?
Oh, I think he's a puppet to Trump. He gets bullied by Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Bullied.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that Trump tried to do since he came into office is
And it's
to
not even that
control
he
the
is a
Fed.
puppet of
Yeah,
Trump. You know
yeah.
what? He there's times where he tries to, put the big boy pants on, but Trump's just he's just tougher than him. He's New York tough. He bullies him into doing what he wants.
That's
And
yeah.
sometimes there's just some people like that can just brute force get it done. You know what? How we were just talking about when I was at the brokerage. There were some guys, they'd get on the phone with a dude, they would just be an asshole. Jim, what do you mean you can't talk to me about a stock right now? And they would just brute force him until the guy would say, okay, let me talk to this dude for 5 minutes and then sell him. And then there's other guys that talk to them smooth, they hit them with the nice classic lines, yada, 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 get the pork chops, get their mouth watering.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
all yeah. There's many
it's
different
how people
styles
operate.
to
Mm-hmm.
there's styles to leadership, and that's one thing I talk about with Trump all the time. And people ask me, what do I think about him? And what it comes down to is, listen, you got to understand what you're getting into in the first place. With the news, you have to understand. If I'm going on CNN, I understand I'm reading left-wing news, and I'm not just going to believe everything I hear because I understand that. If I go on, maybe Fox is going a little bit if I go on, what is the OAN or One America News Network, I know I'm getting far right, but I have to take that into account. Trump's a guy who's been on TV. He's brash. His leadership style is if you screw up, there's no second chances you're getting fired. So when he's pushing people out of his staff that are messing up and getting fired on the first shot, well, we the people shouldn't be surprised by that because
We only watched him
that's his
say you're
leadership
fired for
style. Yeah,
years.
that's exactly what we know him to be. Is no, you're not going to get any leeway in that sense. We know that he's not going to hold back and speak cordially. He's going to just tell you straight up what's coming off the hip. So when he does that and people get all shocked, well, I mean, take the content of what he's saying and not how he's saying it, because we know that how he's saying it is just who he is. It's just how he is. He's gonna fire from the hip and say things a little bit more brashly than most.
Definitely, but it comes down to, again, I don't really look at what people say. I look more at what they do.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And even yeah, that's exactly. I'm not going to
A
continue to
lot
expand.
of people, because you know what? There's a thing. You can only believe 25% of what you with what you read and 50% of what you see. And what I mean by what you see, I'm talking about what you see in person,
Yeah,
not on the internet. So because your eyes can play tricks on you still, obviously.
yeah,
You could be standing there, you could think you saw something, but honestly, that's not what happened. It's just the angle you're standing at. You thought you
yeah,
saw it like that. Your eyes playing a trick. But on the internet, it's the same thing.
yeah.
It should be that 25%. Even if you see a video, it's so easy to rig something up, anything like that. You just gotta take everything with a grain of salt and go by your gut instinct. There's a reason why humans have survived all these years. We have intuition.
Yeah, and there's it's funny you talk about that. There's I'm trying to find the name of it. I can't find the name of it, but anyway, it's like a leadership personal development forum. And I know a couple of people who have done it, and I know the basic content of what they preach, and a lot of it is detaching what's really happened from story. So, uh, an example. You're driving down the highway, you're next to somebody, person accidentally swerves, you flip your shit. What an asshole, what an idiot. This person's a fool, doesn't know how to drive, this, that, the other thing. And the reality is, you're saying they were texting and driving, all that. That's exactly what the reality is that's the story you're telling yourself. But you don't know if that's actually the reality of what happened. The reality of what happened could have been the guy sneezed and swerved a little bit by accident, and you flipped your shit. The story was that he sneezed, accidentally swerved, but he's perfectly fine driver. And the story you're telling yourself is that he was texting and driving, wasn't paying attention to the road, might be drunk, he's swerving all over the place. You understand?
100%. It's a cognitive bias. 100%.
You have to be able to separate
You
what
need
actually
to
happened and what you told yourself happened, because
100%.
they're two completely different things.
What I think a lot of people need to understand is naturally humans have a lot of cognitive biases in
Yeah.
that aspect where you tell yourself the story you believe is true. For example, say I thought the Jets were going to win this weekend. I told myself I'm going to throw $50 on them, and then they blow them out. And then I'm like, shit, I knew that was going to happen. So now I got to go bet them next weekend. No, you didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was a 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
There's a
What
lot of
actually happened is the guy fumbled the ball at the end. The Jets picked it up. He scored. They ended up winning by 3 points.
A lot of people have fallen victim into these cognitive biases for life. How many people do you know that will tell you they're a great bettor, and they've never once have told you a story about a bookie handing them money?
Yeah, no, and it's true, but and it's tough because we as humans, we live in story. That's what we live with. It's something that I've become extremely fascinated with. And in my world, I deal with things that are often very matter of fact and very numbers oriented. But the reality is, if I were to just show people a bunch of numbers and a bunch of facts, I'm not going to get anywhere with people. I'm not going to help them in any way, or I'm not going to get any business going. The fact of the matter is, you have to speak in story. Everything that we do is through story.
100%.
But the key to that is you have to understand not only how to tell the story and how to go through the story, but how to listen to the story and separate what were the added elements to kind of entertain you throughout the story, or to pique your interest, and then what were the actual base facts of the story.
100%. 100%. I agree. We definitely do speak through story as a society. Everyone.
Humans forever. And I read a book.
Yeah.
It's called Sapiens. It's actually a great book. Would recommend it. But yeah, it talks a lot about that in the nature of humans to just always, would just communicate through story. But the fact of the matter is, and especially in times like these, just progressively over the last few years, I feel like and I don't even know how to say it, we're allowing ourselves to, I guess, increasingly allow stories to go further and further than we once did. And if you understand what I'm saying, they're being based more off, or we're thinking that the facts of the story are actually the story portion, and the story portion is actually
the facts.
The facts, yeah. So kind of got to get back to really separating the two and understanding the real ground roots.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right.
It's an interesting spot to end it with.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's definitely interesting.
Definitely something to think about.
We started the ending with talking about negative yielding debt and ended up in human nature. So that's great.
That's
but
that's
the loopholes you're going to find here on the Plutocrats. It's what you're going to do. It's what we're going to
exactly. We unpack it to the deepest.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a lot on the docket. We'll be back tomorrow. Apple monopoly. I'm sure there'll be a bunch more news. I got a list of a couple other things that we can still touch on tomorrow. So that should be jam packed as well. I don't know. Do you have anything else to close it off?
No, I think we had a good episode today. We got through a lot of stuff. Besides that,
got through a ton.
We'll see all of our faithful watchers tomorrow.
Yeah, like, subscribe, comment down below.
Hit that
Let
comment
us know
button.
what you
Know what
think.
we're
Yeah, give
answering.
us some topics, some answers to anything that we were discussing, considering, and stay tuned for tomorrow. Hop back on. All right, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.